Madam Chairman.
Go ahead.
On July 2nd, the Board of Supervisors instituted the mask mandate in county buildings. There were exceptions for people with health issues. Then we came back on July 16th and added face shields for those that could not wear a mask. It's being interpreted by staff that people with medical conditions that can't wear a mask nor a face shield are then asked to leave the building. I don't believe that that was the intent of the change on July 16th that allowed face shields also. And we need to clarify that before we get ourselves in a bind with the federals on the ADA regulations.
Supervisor Gold, it's my memory that if you had a medical exemption, you did not have to wear a mask. You would be offered a shield, but otherwise you could remain. That's what I understood.
Madam Chair.
County Manager.
Well, I heard from a constituent last week that she was asked to leave the library in Lake Havasu because she has a medical condition that she cannot wear a mask, she cannot wear a face shield. She was then asked to wait outside, which I believe violates the federal law for disabled people, the ADA law. And if you read the directive from risk management, that's how it reads. Madam Chair.
Let me see. I've got several people wanting to speak. County Manager Elters, I'll let you go next.
Madam Chair, Supervisor Gould, the practice that we have in place is that we would, based on our understanding of the board action and direction, we would ask an individual who is not wearing anything to wear a mask or facial cover. If they indicate that they have medical conditions that prevent them from wearing a face mask, we would ask them if they would wear a face shield and offer that to them. If they do refuse or indicate that they cannot wear it or would not wear it, then we would offer them to serve them through phone or computer to facilitate the services that they need done, and including carrying, in the case of the library, carrying books or other supplies out to them. All in an effort not so much to refuse them service, but to facilitate getting their services done while complying with the board direction. And if they decline all those options, then the employees are left with no other option other than to decline serving them. That is the practice that we have been using, and we believe that is consistent with the board direction.
Okay, Supervisor.
Madam Chairman.
Was that you, Supervisor Gold?
It was.
Yeah, if you could just say your name first, then I wouldn't get confused between you and Supervisor Johnson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Sam, I believe that policy is in conflict with the Americans with Disability Act. They're entitled to have service the same way that an able-bodied person would have service. And I remember an exception that people were still allowed to conduct business even if they weren't wearing the face shield.
And if I may answer that, Supervisor Gould and Chairman Bishop?
Yes, Mr. Ryan, go ahead.
Sure. Supervisor Gould, I appreciate you brought up these points. First off, the Mohave County complies with the Americans with Disabilities Act. We looked at the complaint that was issued recently by the library, and Mohave County complied with the Americans with Disability Act, and we continue to comply with the Americans with Disability Act. As you pointed out, according to the Americans with Disability Act, we have to provide the same service that we provide to any person, regardless of their disability. And we ensure to do that. In order to comply with that, what we do is we first have the requirement that we have a mask. And we provide that mask for people. If they don't have a mask, we provide it for them. If they don't have a mask, then we say, well, we offer a face shield. Here's a face shield. Here's an opportunity for you to comply, make sure that we're providing safety for our employees and for the public. Here's a face shield. If they also cannot use a face shield, then we provide other services, just like what the county manager pointed out. We provide it by telephone, by email, all kinds of different ways in order to ensure that they have all the services that an able-bodied person would do. At some point, we can say, you know what, we've provided all the possible things. We've given all kinds of reasonable alternatives. We've provided all kinds of reasonable accommodations. At some point, it can come to the point where we can say, no, we cannot provide further services. That is because during this incident, during a pandemic, this poses a risk where we can do that. There are exceptions that would allow it. And that is one of them. The EEOC has come out specifically in the context of employment about the risk that COVID poses to others in the employment context, which is similar to what we're talking about here. It's a little bit different context, but it's ADA, different sections of the ADA. So that's kind of the legal side of it. But now to your question, Supervisor Golden, to the board here can clarify that position right now. Any board member can make a motion to say, okay, here's our position. We require masks, we require face shields, and if somebody has a medical exemption, we will allow them in the building as well. You have the power to do that right now, and you can do that today. You can clearly do that today. One thing I will also add to this, Supervisor Gould, is this. My understanding of the ADA is completely different than when it was back in February of this year. If you would have asked me this question back in February of this year, I clearly would have said, oh, absolutely, we couldn't do this. But so much has changed with the pandemic, even with the laws related to the pandemic, that it is completely different than when it was our understanding of the ADA 6 months ago. And so to look at the ADA as it was in February versus what we have today is a completely different model. So just keep that in mind as well. From us, my recommendation to the board is make a motion, clarify it right now. You can do that, and then staff will have the direction. We're trying to do whatever the board wants, and we will implement that. And my recommendation is to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments?
Madam Chairman.
Supervisor Gould?
Here.
Go ahead.
I move that people with health issues that keep them from wearing either a mask or a face shield be allowed to enter and use county facilities.
Can you please repeat that?
Sure. I move that people with a medical exemption that prevents them from wearing a mask or a face shield be allowed to access and use county facilities.
I'll second that.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to keep on talking here. I try not to talk so much, but if I may, Chairman Bishop.
Yes, please do.
The one other thing you got to be aware of too is, and we've had this issue before, just so you're aware, the court buildings, our courts are separate. They are getting directives directly from the Arizona Office of Courts, the AOC, and their directions are going to be different than what we're giving. And so your motion, I'm just going to say, is not going to apply to the courts. Just so you're aware of that.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to amend my motion. I amend my motion to exempt the courts from this motion.
Okay. Supervisor Watson?
My concern is our employees, and how are we going to make sure that there's enough social distancing between the person that's coming in without any protection and our employees? That's really my only concern. If we can somehow add that into your motion for their certain amount of distance to make sure that that occurs, or that there's absolutely no contact or interaction closer than the 6 feet recommended by our current services, well, that's my question.
Okay, and I also have a question. Are we going to ask for any kind of written documentation of what this medical exemption is?
Chairman Bishop, if I may interject again.
I don't think we can do that.
Our recommendation is you not ask. Please, our recommendation is you not ask for any kind of documentation as to any kind of medical issue or disability.
Because that might be a violation of the privacy laws.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, of the ADA.
Supervisor Watson.
Madam Chair.
So I guess if I decide to come into the premises without a mask, then no one can ask me if I've got a medical situation that deters that, then I can't ask that question. Is that right? Or I can't
we
cannot be asked that question.
So the litany of questions would be, you know, here we have a mask for you. Can you please provide one a mask? The person says, no, I have a medical disability that prevents me from wearing a mask. Then we end the inquiry. We end the conversation. But certainly we can ask them, can you please wear a mask? We have a mask policy here. If they say, I have a medical disability or a medical issue that prevents me from wearing the mask, then we stop the inquiry at that point.
Okay, and I don't know, I believe all the supervisors received a request from Banner Health requesting that we support the universal masking in every county of our state. I just wanted to recognize that this letter did go out to all of the board members. And I'm not taking a stance one way or the other, I'm just doing a public.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I?
yes, go ahead, County Manager.
Again, it's not to take a position one way or the other. It's just to provide a reminder that shortly after the executive order and the delegation of authority to local agencies, all three cities within the county, and that is Kingman, Bullhead City, and Lake Havasu City, came out with proclamation mandating masks. We discussed that with the board at a board meeting. The understanding was that the city government does not have jurisdiction over county government, therefore those did not apply in county buildings, and the feeling was we have concerns. The number of cases were high and were getting high, were increasingly going up. So the board felt the need to mandate that at county facilities, not countywide, and it was multiple motions by the board that were voted on that got us to this point and this protocol that we have been using. So again, I'm not taking position one way or the other. It's not up to me, it's up to the board members. I just wanted to remind you of that process that led us to this point.
Okay. Denise, do you have any comments?
I do not. I feel like the board is making their decision, and we will follow whatever directive the board gives us.
Madam Chairman, Gould here.
Supervisor Gould.
I'd like to amend my motion yet once again that people allowed into county buildings will do the best of their ability to maintain the 6-foot social distancing.
And I amend my second.
Madam Chair.
Supervisor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can't believe we're going over this for this length of time. The person in question who filed the complaint with the county, I had Mr. Esplin give them a legal opinion. We handled all of their concerns. What you're asking now is for the people who want to flout the mask to just come in and say, oh, I have a doctor's order because we can't ask. We make every accommodation. What we're trying to do is protect our employees and protect the public at the same time. I believe we should not be changing the policy we have in place at this time. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, we've had several changes here Are you clear as to what the motion is, and can you read it back to us? Or summarize it as best you can?
Madam Chair, motion is people with health issues be allowed to enter and use the facilities without a mask or a face shield if they state that they have a medical issues. It exempts the court buildings, and it also has now been amended to maintain social distancing where all possible for the people who are not wearing masks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's call for the vote, please. Can you do a roll call?
Supervisor Watson?
I'm going to continue to err on the side of safety for our employees, so I'll say no.
Supervisor Angus?
Yes.
Supervisor Johnson?
No.
Supervisor Gould?
Yes.
Chairman Bishop?
No.
Motion does not carry.
Okay, Denise, do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions for Denise?
I have a question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm not sure if all the other supervisors received the information, but I'd ask about cases that were not followed up on, and we were informed that information was lacking that we received. It appears that we've had over or nearly 400 cases of incomplete information. The Arizona State Laboratory has given us like 95 that were incomplete, Sonora Quest and Phoenix 93, LabCorp Phoenix 65, Kingman Regional Medical Center 34, Western Arizona Regional Medical Center 18, Havasu Regional Medical Center 11, Peach Springs was 11. Then we had some doctors that weren't doing it. So just for everybody's information, that's only about 10%, but that's still too high. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Supervisor Angus?
I just received another question from a constituent. Here it is. Is convalescent plasma treatment available in Mohave County? Supposedly the best results when used in first 3 days after diagnosis. They said it shows a 35% decrease in deaths, but not for people on ventilators.
Right. At this time, I don't know the answer to that question, so I'd like to follow up and get that information to you.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly.